Let's talk about how to prepare for the SAT. And specifically in this video, I'm going to give you a detailed framework, a three-part framework, what I call the success triad, right? You see the Venn diagram, hopefully. That's not freaking you out too much, don't worry. I'll break it down and make it nice and easy for you. But this framework about how to think about preparing for the SAT, how to study, how to put yourself in the best position for success on test day. Sound good? Hi, I'm Brett Etheridge, founder and lead SAT instructor at Dominate Test Prep. And I want to start with a simple premise, and that is this, that the SAT is a beatable test. And that should be encouraging for you. There are no secrets. We know everything is that's on it. The question is, can you do what it takes to learn everything that's on it and beat the SAT? Which brings me to this framework. I want you to step back and I want you to just think about anything you have mastered, anything you have excelled at or gotten good at. And I know we're all good at something. I know you're excellent at something in life. Maybe it's a sport, maybe it's an instrument, a foreign language, painting, sculpture. Whatever it is, think about what it took for you to get to the point of competency, and not just competency, maybe excellence if you really excel at it. But either way, you're proficient at it. What did it take to get there? For me, I recently learned how to kite surf. So you see it on the screen. This was the view outside of our balcony in Cartagena. My wife and I lived in Cartagena, Colombia, and I would look out and see these kite surfers and it looked so idyllic. And I thought to myself, I want to learn how to do that. So what did I do? I decided to take some lessons. I hired an instructor, and here I am kind of learning the ropes, figuring things out. By the way, at this point, I had already done a lot of on-land instruction, but now I'm in the water with my instructor, and he's kind of giving me instructions and showing me what to do, and oh, lo and behold, hey, look at that. I got up and I am kite surfing. Now, if you're a kite surfer, you know I look a little rigid. It's not the best form, but hey, in this picture, I was just getting started, and I'm off to the races learning how to kite surf. Now, if kite surfing were the SAT, I wouldn't get a very good score. Why? Because I'm still learning. I haven't fully mastered it yet, but it can be mastered. I know I can master it with more what? What are the three components? What do I need more of to get better at kite surfing? What are the components you need to get better at the SAT? And the first component of mastery really at anything, but certainly the SAT, is content. This is the what. This is the nuts and bolts of what you actually need to know for whatever you're trying to learn. And in your case with the SAT, this is the content that you actually have to learn. For me, I had somebody telling me, here's how you hold the handlebar, here's how the kite moves, here's where you stand, here's how you position your feet. It's like the how-tos of whatever you're trying to learn. And the SAT is no different. Here's a quick look at some of the content that you will have to know to do well on the SAT, and there's just no getting around it. You're going to have to know some basic math, especially algebra. The SAT is algebra intensive, a lot of geometry, some data analysis and interpretation. That's interpreting graphs and charts. There's problem solving involved with all aspects of the math sections. Reading comprehension. Can you answer questions about complex texts? Language revision, understanding how to move things around to express what's trying to be expressed in the most effective way possible. There's a lot of English grammar and diction and punctuation you need to know to do well on the SAT. And then, of course, learning how to write essays. Now, that's not an exhaustive list. My guess is you know roughly what you're in store for, kind of what's tested on the SAT. Now, in theory, they tell you that it tests stuff that you already should know or have already been exposed to during your academic career. We also know that everybody's situation is different. You may have had a good algebra instructor, maybe you had a terrible algebra instructor, maybe you're a little bit behind, maybe you haven't been a reader your whole life. There are lots of different reasons that you may need to spend a lot of time learning, or in some cases relearning, that underlying content. But at the end of the day, we need some content knowledge. We need to kind of know the what of doing well. But that's not all of it, right? The instructor could have just told me how to kite surf, and I could have read a book or a manual and he could have told me, but then when I get out onto the water, oh my gosh, I'm not going to know what to do. I'm not going to be able to get up because I'm lacking strategy. Strategy is the second major component of the success triad for the SAT. And I would argue that it's the major differentiator between those who do really well on the SAT and those who don't. Are you able to come at questions in kind of a non-traditional way? Can you reason your way on certain questions to a right answer? Can you get from point A to point Z, or certainly from point A to point B, a little bit faster, a little bit more efficiently? That's strategy. And here you see some more of what I'm talking about when I talk about strategy. It goes beyond the X's and O's. It goes beyond the content to things like non-traditional math techniques. These are the three major ones that I teach, working backwards, making up numbers, WIBNI, which is an acronym that stands for Wouldn't It Be Nice If? It's sort of a mindset that helps you reason your way to right answers, even if you're not sure how to do the actual underlying math. And by the way, you see a website in the lower right. You can head over to dominatetestprep.com/SAT. I have courses, a whole course entirely devoted to SAT math strategy, where I go through all of these types of strategies in detail with examples and worksheets and practice problems. So head over there if you're interested in more of that. But strategy also involves using figures to your advantage. Time management is a big aspect of strategically working your way through the SAT in the most effective way possible. And strategic elimination and guessing. That's a big part of strategy, because a lot of times there are some throw-out answers, some eye-catcher wrong answers, some obvious, eye catchers that you can just get rid of to improve your guessing odds, even when you're not quite sure how to proceed. And so all of that would fall under the umbrella of what I call strategy. And hopefully you can see how strategy kind of piggybacks on the content. We learn the content, but now we learn how to get more efficient and better and faster. For me, when I was kite surfing, it was like, okay, you told me what to do, but now I need a trick. Like, hey, maybe I position my foot this way a little bit more. Or maybe I pull back a little bit more as I'm popping up. And these are the strategy pieces that my coach was kind of teaching me and showing me to make me better at what he was trying to get me to do. And yet we know the missing piece, don't we? The missing link is practice, right? At the end of the day, you can watch videos all day long, you can read textbooks, you can have somebody tell you the what and the how, and even have a little bit of strategy, but until you actually practice, for me, that's the major missing piece at this point for kite surfing, right? I've learned a lot of the content. I know a little bit of strategy. I can get better there. But at this point, I can get up. I just need to practice, and I need to do it over and over in lots of different conditions. For you, we're going to learn the content. We're going to learn the strategy. And now it's a matter of practice. And what does practice look like? Well, first and foremost, it means working tons of practice problems. And real former SAT questions are the best. From that standpoint, then really an indispensable resource for you is the official guide to the SAT. These are real former practice tests, hundreds and hundreds of real former practice questions straight from the makers of the SAT, exactly like the types of questions you will see on test day. But beyond that, in the context of doing these practice problems, you need to develop your mental stamina. And you see here I say don't cheat your reps. That's a term that I use when I do CrossFit, or if you're in the gym and you're lifting weights. Don't cheat your reps. On the SAT, that means a lot of times you'll be working practice problems, and when you get stuck, you quickly glance ahead at the answer choices, or you look at the answer explanation without doing the mental brain work it takes to have the important breakthroughs yourself. So it's not just practicing, it's practicing the right way. You see the quote over on the right by famous football coach Vince Lombardi, who said, "Practice doesn't make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect." So it's a matter of doing these practice problems the right way. Hammer away at your weaknesses while you're practicing. Practice under test day conditions. That means taking full-length practice tests, making sure that you are practicing the way that you will on test day. And this is really important. You need to get expert feedback, adjust, and implement. At the risk of mixing metaphors, if you're learning to play golf and all you do is go to the driving range and you hit ball after ball after ball, but you have bad habits, you have something wrong with your technique or your form, you can hit 1,000 golf balls, but you're not going to get any better because you're not actually doing it the right way. Same thing on the SAT. We can practice, but are you practicing the right things? Do you have feedback? Do you have somebody helping you, coach you, and redirect where you're making mistakes so that you now develop the good habits that you can solidify and create mastery with additional practice? And actually that brings me to number number 4, kind of the bonus component of excelling at anything in life, and certainly the SAT, and that is doing so as part of a community. It's crucial that you surround yourself with a group of like-minded individuals pursuing the same goals and the same path that you are on. It means surrounding yourself with a coach, maybe somebody like me, another mentor, an instructor, somebody as you're practicing and need to recalibrate and figure out, why am I doing this wrong? Or is there a better strategy, a different way of thinking about this? Having somebody be able to point you in the right direction. Having your peers who have maybe gone through it to suggest additional resources. And just from an accountability standpoint, from a motivation standpoint, we know that when we pursue goals as part of a group, we get much better results than if we go it alone. That goes for if you're trying to lose weight and pursuing health goals or get better in the gym. It's so much more fun to work out with a friend than it is just to go to the gym all by yourself. Same thing with the SAT. So I would encourage you, whether it's a study group at school, whether it's an online forum or a Facebook group, whether you join our Dominate Test Prep SAT and ACT community. Again, head over to dominatetestprep.com/SAT for details on that. Would love you to have you as part of our community and work with you and help you achieve your goals. I highly encourage you. Community is so important as you think about maximizing your potential on test day. So that is it. With that, I just kind of to summarize, think about the triad, and actually, just kind of the sweet spot is right in here. A lot of students overemphasize certain areas. They only practice. But again, if you're practicing the wrong things and developing bad habits, maybe you need to revisit the content. Others just study, read books, and they neglect the practice, or they don't incorporate strategy to understand, hey, okay, fine, is there a better way to find the roots of a quadratic equation? Is there, all of these shortcuts and things? So try to find that perfect sweet spot among all 3 components in a community, and I know you'll be in a great position to go out and dominate the SAT. So with that, I would love to hear from you, and specifically, I want to know what scares you the most about preparing for the SAT. My guess is there's something, right? It can be an intimidating and daunting journey. So what aspect of preparing for the SAT keeps you awake at night or makes you think that, I don't know if I can do this? I would love to hear from you. In fact, please leave a comment in the comments area below. I respond to those personally. I would love to get to know you better, help work you through any of your fears and concerns. So what bothers you? Maybe what was kind of an eye-opener for you here about, that's a component of studying for the SAT that I never really thought about. Would love to hear that as well. Guys, I'm here to work with you, to help you, to empower you to dominate the SAT, because I know you can do it. As I mentioned at the outset, it is a beatable test if you implement the right framework for preparing for it. So with that, I am signing off. I'll talk to you guys soon. Go out, study hard, and dominate the SAT.